Thank you for joining us. I'm Jose Cardenas. Latinos in social media, also known as LATISM, is being called an influential online movement in the new multicultural web. The group is dedicated to advancing the civic, economic, and social status of the Hispanic community. With me to talk about LATISM and more about its mission is Joe Ray, the director of the new official chapter for LATISM in Phoenix. Joe is also president and creative director of Maximo Multicultural Branding Agency. Also here is Eric Diaz, co-director for the LATISM Phoenix chapter. Eric is also the principal for DK Web Consulting. Eric, Joe, thank you for joining us on Horizonte. Eric, before we start talking about LATISM and what the group is trying to do, just give us some sense statistically for the differences between the Hispanic social media arena and the non-Hispanic.
Interesting question. It's been documented many times that how much Hispanics use social media, Twitter, Facebook, some of the major channels. One of the things that's really interesting is that Hispanics actually over-index on their Twitter usage, whereas 17% of Twitter users are Hispanics, whereas they're just around 16% of the population.
And when you say over-index, you mean in terms of the representation in the population?
Yes, they use the basically a higher percentage of Hispanics use Twitter than are just in the market in general. So a larger percentage of them actually use Twitter, which is interesting.
And is that because the population is also younger?
Oh, yes, I think it's 47% of Hispanics are under 35 years old, so that definitely lends to social media being a key part of their lives. That the younger age groups tend to gravitate and adopt these software such as Twitter, Facebook, Foursquare, and so I think that definitely helps with the numbers that we've seen.
And are there other interesting or surprising statistics between Hispanics and non-Hispanics in terms of usage of social media?
Absolutely. One of the things that I think is really fascinates people is that when you look at what type of mobile devices Hispanics are using, you find that it's more likely that a Hispanic will have an iPhone, for example, or they'll be using the newest smartphone. And so that when they're actually using the internet, they're not using it from the older style phones. They're more likely to have an iPhone. So basically, Hispanics, I believe, are twice as likely to do their internet browsing from a smartphone compared to the general market.
And is there any particular explanation for that?
Well, I think it lends itself to the youth of Hispanics. I think it also the importance of being social. Hispanics, are social by nature. So I think being able to do it with social media is really an opportunity it's really right down Hispanics' alley to be able to expand their voice and more than they would normally be able to with just talking between each other, but they're able to talk to the whole country or beyond the whole country to their family members outside of the United States as well. So I think definitely the youth and I think just the natural characteristics that Hispanics have tend to favor the reason why more Hispanics have iPhones or on Twitter, for example.
Now, Joe, I've been talking to Eric about differences between Hispanics and non-Hispanics, but there are differences between Hispanics themselves and those who are Spanish preferred in terms of language usage and English preferred. Tell us about some of that.
There's a good portion of the population of Latinos, Hispanics that prefer English over Spanish, and the reason for that is their comfort level with the language. But there's also a trust issue as well, where there are more English websites out there, obviously, especially if you're going to do research on a product, on something you're going to as a consumer. So a lot of Spanish language dominant Hispanics will have somebody do the research for them on the English site, which is interesting. And the reason for that is because of poor translation, poorly developed Spanish language.
So they don't trust the Spanish translations of English websites. So they'll either go there themselves or they'll have friends going.
Right, or the translator kit. Exactly.
Okay. And any other differences between, for example, more recent immigrants and people who've been living here for generations, Hispanic descent?
I think it really goes more to the age aspect and where they're living also, and the types of offerings. As Eric was talking about, the use of mobile, which is very high, and it's interesting too because you walk around, you go to any place that Hispanics are congregating, especially recent arrivals. So if you go to the Mexican consulate, wherever there's bus depots, those kind of places where people are waiting on specific services, they tell the recent arrivals in that case, they're walking around, everybody's texting. Everybody is just, their smartphone in hand there. Compared to older people that have been here for a while, that's Hispanic subset. It's maybe a little bit older. There's a discomfort level so much with technology. They're not as comfortable with their desktop.
But is that any different than what it is in the non-Hispanic population? That older folks like me perhaps are not as comfortable with social media as the younger generation?
Jose, let me add one thing on that. I think another thing that is a big influencer on this is that, when you think about mobile devices, the fact that, in Latin America, where a lot of my family's from is Lima. When I used to go there back around 1998, 1999, you saw everybody had cell phones way back then. And the fact that people were using them in all Latin America.
Using cell phones because landlines were not as readily available.
Exactly. And I think that, that culture, because a lot of current Americans are from, Latin America, I think that lends to, the dominance of mobile phones and, high technology among Latinos, because it's kind of transferred over from Latin America. New Americans have kind of brought that culture with them.
Joe, tell us about LATISM. I mean, what is it, and why did you start the Phoenix chapter? Latinos
and social media, and I've been following and been part of the LATISM network for a couple of years now. And LATISM started in 2009, and it started with a simple tweet by the founder, Ana Roca Castro, who sent out one tweet that said, "Where are all the Latinos?" or where are you out there, basically. One tweet. She got 300 responses. This is in 2009. Fast forward to 2011, currently there's over 140,000 members of LATISM at this point. There are 10 chapters, including the Phoenix chapter. And I saw what was going on. It was part of the excitement that was out there going on. And it's a sense of community, familismo, that's expanding, that all of a sudden you feel like you have these crazy cousins in different cities, different cultural aspects to them that I wanted to be a part of. And in communicating with them, I haven't met them in person, but you communicate with them online, and then when they said they were going to look at doing some some additional chapters with different cities, that, Phoenix has to be one because of what's been going on in Arizona the last couple of years. We need to be a part of that. And currently there are 10 cities. For the next year, there's 6 more cities going to be added, in addition to a chapter in the Dominican Republic.
And Eric, what does LATISM provide that other kinds of social networking websites that are geared to the Hispanic market don't?
Well, LATISM works on the same channel, so it works on Twitter, it works on Facebook. Basically, I think the best way to explain LATISM is, if you look at on Twitter, the hashtag LATISM, what you'll find, if you search that hashtag of LATISM any time of the day, you'll find what is going on, what is important to Latinos right now. What are the issues? Whether it's marketing, whether it's the cultural issues with SB 1070, things that are going on. People use that hashtag, and allows people from Phoenix to New York to everywhere else to communicate with each other and expand their voice and share the message and basically grow their network. And like Joe was saying, that before all of this in LATISM, you were kind of limited to your geography in a way, but now, by the finding that there is this group of Latinos outside of our immediate geography, we're able to really communicate and do a lot more. So I think that's what LATISM really brings to the table.
So Joe, how do you envision that manifesting itself here in Phoenix? I know you're just getting underway, you've got some events coming up. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that, but also what you envision LATISM in Phoenix becoming.
A strong force for empowering of people in the area with social media, using social media. LATISM encompasses education, health, wellness, family issues, community issues, arts, culture, everything. And it's the use of social media that will empower getting the word out there, and not only getting the word out there, but finding good information out there, information that's relevant to communities and to the individual as well. One of the first events that we have coming up, the very first Phoenix LATISM event, is a tweet-up that we will have in January, and that'll be on January 26th.
And you mentioned art.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually a fairly renowned artist in your own right, both locally and nationally. How would it work there? What would LATISM do for the arts in Phoenix, in Arizona, that's not accomplished by ALAC, Arizona Latino Arts and Culture Center, by Chico, an organization you're involved in, and others. What does LATISM add?
LATISM brings a whole other network. It expands the network. Some of the other big users of social media, especially in LATISM, are journalists. So you have, and academians as well to a certain degree, but you have these people that are out there that are very much into culture. One of the big aspects of our culture is, it's obviously it's family, food, and it's music. Art falls into that cultural realm there as well. So it's a whole new set of eyeballs, ears, and feelings. People can see something that I did or another artist did here in the Southwest, here in Phoenix. They'll see it in the Northeast or in Latin America and go, I can relate to that.
So it
resonates
provides
with
an
them.
expanded network for all
Very
these
much
other
so.
groups.
Very much.
Eric, speaking of expansion, that's what you've done. Your business is headquartered in Columbus, Ohio. You've recently opened an office here. Why is that? What is there that attracts you to the Phoenix market?
Well, I think, as Joe mentioned, for LATISM, Phoenix is very important. To this, to everybody that deals with the Hispanic market. It's where it all basically happens, ground zero, if you will. I think for us, my company, we wanted to be on the West Coast. We wanted to grow here. Phoenix was the hotbed of activity. We knew that there was good opportunity for our company here we work with a lot of health agencies, government, and there's a lot that needs to be done, a lot of messages that can be communicated through social media, and that's what we do. I think, on a personal level, one of the reasons I wanted to come out here personally is because I think that I think the best way to combat the way that stereotypical, the way people think about Latinos is to show people that they're more educated Latino professionals, and I wanted to be right where it was and show people that I'm basically an entrepreneur, growing my company on the West, basically, which is why I moved out here.
Well, Eric Diaz, Joe Ray, thanks for joining us on Horizonte to talk about LATISM.
Thank you.
Thank you.